Hey, this is Farmboy, and we're going to talk about the common law court. Does it exist or not? Do you have a right to it or not? Well, the answer to that is yes in both cases. The fact of the matter, it works like this. The Ordinance of 1787, the Northwest Ordinance of 1780, guaranteed your right of habeas corpus, your right to the common law court, and your right to a trial by jury. That is not a jury trial. The United States Constitution was created 2 years later. In 1789, they brought all those rules into the United States Constitution. And then one of the provisions of the United States Constitution was Article 6, Section 2, which specifically states this, and this is very important. It states that the Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made pursuant thereof, and all treaties made thereof, of which shall be made under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land. And that the judges in every state, and for some reason they chose to do their legal styling with a lowercase state. That's important because that's the people. So the judges in every state, or the judges of the people, shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution or the laws of any state with a capital S, which is your body politic, to the contrary, notwithstanding. That one thing says that the common law court exists, the habeas corpus exists, and your right to trial by jury exists, and that your local judges of your people in your counties. Now, you're going to question that and say, well, it didn't say counties, and it didn't say this, and it didn't say that. Well, contrary to what you might think, it goes a little further than that. It's very important that you realize this. You guys have to wrap your head around that in Indiana, which was part of the original Northwest Ordinance territory, Northwest Territory, in Indiana, the Indiana Constitution, under Article 5, Section 3, the president and associate judges, this is at the state level. This isn't the federal level. This is the Indiana Constitution. The Indiana Constitution, under Article 5, Section 3, the president and the associate judges in their respective counties. Oh my goodness, we have county judges? Shall have common law and chancellery jurisdiction. All right, let me say that again. In the 1816 Indiana Constitution, under Article 5, Section 3, the president and associate judges in their respective counties. This isn't the big circuit covering big territory. This is the body politic that created smaller territories like counties. And there still remains the same procedure that the governor is to sign in when the clerk of court says, we have a call to set these seats, that the governor will sign the president, which is the chief judge, and 2 associate judges. Shall have common law and chancellery jurisdiction, as also complete criminal jurisdiction. All criminal jurisdiction has to be held in this venue. Only this venue. No other venue has the right. That's why when you go into these modern day court systems, and they never tell you, when you say, what jurisdiction do you have? What jurisdiction? I'm challenging jurisdiction. They never answer. They obfuscate. Why? Because they're attorneys. They're protecting themselves. They're on the corporate side. Did you know that all attorneys are lawyers, but not all lawyers are attorneys? Now, we're going to get to a situation where the state themselves basically tell you that they want to stay in charge and they're not going to have it any other way. Now, in the state of Indiana, even under the trial Rule 75.8 provides for a venue other than the corporate state. That is your all uppercase. You ever notice when you go into court, it's state of and your state all in proper style uppercase, versus you in your name in the ens legis. Yeah, that's the word. That's the legal word for straw man, ens legis. That is an entity. It is the corporate entity versus the corporate entity. They don't want to talk about that. Why? Because they don't want to have to admit the jurisdiction they're in. It's all legal style. And those are facts. Those are not up for debate. Those are not for you to say, oh, they're, we got courts and they're the law and all. No, it doesn't work like that. In 1815, Indiana got a new constitution that carried over all of the 1816 programs, but it left for a situation where it said that those courts shall remain vacant if no one needs them. Those seats will remain vacant in those courts unless they're called upon. I sued in Indiana, in Wells County, Indiana, the clerk of court, Beth Davis, to set an election pursuant to our law to set those seats. And Governor Braun is supposed to put those seats, find those men to set in those seats. Now, the interesting thing about it is this goes from basically the Magna Carta. Back in about 1251 or that time frame, the king was held at sword, and the people had had enough of his nonsense and said, you'll not deny a man his court. The king agreed. We got the common law. All right, so then it comes forward. By the time all the people from that region comes into this country, establishes under the same rules. Then we get the Northwest Ordinances, which recognizes those rules. The common law court must exist. A man can't be denied his court, right? Can't be done. That went back some 500-600 years before. Couldn't be done. They were still carrying these rules. Then the United States was created, 1789. The United States says, damn right, those are the rules, and we're going to stand by them. And all you states that gets created will follow these rules because this is the supreme law of the land. The state can't take this from you. It can't be done. It would be completely illegal for them to take it, and unlawful on top of that. Now, that brings me to a situation where I need you to understand what's going on, because what we're talking about is the United States Constitution under Article 3, Section 2 gives you 4 different courts in 2 different venues different than the First Amendment. First article. Article 3, Section 2 says that you have the common law, equity, that's Chancery Court, and maritime and admiralty. This is the land court. These 2 are land, and these 2 are water. Water's commerce, folks. Water's commerce. It's all about commerce and delivery. That's why your highways are referred to as your common waterways. It's where the flow of commerce goes. So if you're in commerce, you have to have a license to do so because you're properly performing under contract in agreement on the admiralty side. But the people still retained their common law, Chancery Court, equity side. Now the maxim goes that equity follows the law, which means you have to have that court or you can't actually have equity. How about that? But I'm going to tell you right now, you have to understand when these courts put out things. Like I'm holding this document right here, which is an order from the court, order regarding the defendant's correspondences. And furthermore, this is what he says. Furthermore, it is ordered that because the defendant was asking to have the answers answered to him, jurisdiction, the bonds. I need an accounting of the books. I mean, you're talking about money here because charges are based on money and, like a charge on a credit card, things like that. Now, the judge writes on this and signs off, furthermore, filings that are frivolous, unintelligible, grounded in pseudo-theories, including but not limited to sovereign citizen. Sovereign citizenship cannot be denied. President Roosevelt has his speech recorded in the Federal Registry, May 7th, 1940, stating that every man and woman over the age of 21 in America is a sovereign citizen. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. How do you overcome that? How do judges and attorneys in your state make these kind of nonsensical comments when a president of the United States knew the story? It goes on to say, the sovereign citizen, the UCC, the Uniform Commercial Code has been adopted in every state. It's not a pseudoscience. It's a financial fact. Straw man. The key word for straw man for you to look up in Latin is ens legis. That's what a straw man is. And private citizen. For those of you who are putting together your private equity trust and all this stuff and you're changing your status, they're attacking you. It doesn't matter what anybody tells you. They're saying, listen, we're not going to have that common law and equity chancery courts in our state. We run the show here and you better wake up. We know that's the truth because look how full our prisons are. This is a Farmboy. I'm going to get to the court order next.